Well, congratulations. You're still with your group and rolling through this series in the book of Acts that we are calling Unstoppable. And it's just been an amazing journey, at least for me, to go back and look at the mission Jesus gave to his first followers to be witnesses, to see how the church actually began and what were the things that caused it to grow and how it continues on to this very day. As I've mentioned, we had originally only planned for 10 weeks, and this actually makes week number 11. So we're going to be able to cover some very important things that we were going to maybe give less attention to. And I think that will actually prove to be quite beneficial for you, but also for our church. So this is what we would call the first of our bonus episodes. Now, this week very closely connects to last week, so it's important to have at least maybe a basic understanding of what had just happened in the church. That for the very first time, the gospel message spread to people who were not Jews, to the Gentiles. And now we have a whole new group of people who don't dress like Jewish people or eat like Jewish people or act like Jewish people. They just simply responded to the message that God was inviting everyone into his family through faith. And I know it doesn't sound like it, but it really caused a big problem and nearly a potential split in the young church. There rose up a whole group of people who started to spread the idea that unless the Gentiles were going to convert first to Judaism, then they shouldn't be allowed to convert to Christianity and therefore be added to the church. Just to be more clear, Jewish people who have been trying to live by the law, right, the Old Testament law, quite often unsuccessfully, year after year after year, they now want to impose those same regulations on non-Jews who are joining the church. This idea that you could be saved by grace through faith just seemed way too simplistic for some people. So the formula for these people actually became, okay, Jesus plus Jewish laws equaled salvation. Specifically, and you can dive into this in your own discussion, Jesus plus circumcision would lead to salvation. Like that one thing right there was the sign for all Jewish people that they had a special relationship with God. Now, what this teaching did was to actually create a wall or a barrier between people and Jesus. Right? The very thing that Jesus came to break down, right? Additional rules and regulations. Some people in this new church were rebuilding. And the issue caused so much tension and questions that it led to the first church convention, right? A big old meeting where all the big dog leaders of the church got together to decide how they should proceed. And I think we can summarize their conclusion with one phrase from chapter 15, verse 19 that says, "We should not cause difficulties for those who turn to God." I mean, if there was some kind of a takeaway that I think we can learn from as we're part of the church now that continues into a new time and a new culture and a new age, it's this. We must not make it difficult for people who are turning to Jesus. And it sounds so simple, but every church or even organization faces the temptation to drift away from its core mission and message. The church throughout history has constantly had to recenter and reorganize and refocus and clarify that it exists primarily to have a passion for outsiders, even at times at the expense of pacifying insiders. So for us, collectively as a church, we should constantly be asking and evaluating, does what we're doing or asking make it easy for people or difficult for people who want to turn to Jesus? And it doesn't mean that we lower our standards. It doesn't mean that we actually change the truth or teach something that's not the full gospel. It means that we're looking for unnecessary barriers that at times get added or promoted for people to do or believe, in addition to the simple fact that we are saved by grace through faith. It means that we are diligent to the formula that Jesus presented, right? The early church presented, the formula that still stands, Jesus plus nothing equals salvation.